Even his man told me very busy. He did not have time for that.
Good evening, distinguished colleagues. I want to welcome everyone that has joined the Zoom meeting tonight. My name is Dr. Regina James. Please, can somebody lead us in the opening prayer?
Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think we can start the opening prayer. Good evening, Dr. James.
Kindly go ahead, please, with the prayer. Dr.
Okay, please.
Yes. Yes. Kindly go ahead with prayer. Okay, can we pray then? In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful, we thank Him for giving us another opportunity to come together again for another interesting clinical meeting. We pray that He come with us and guide us and bless our effort. For in His name we pray. Amen. End of prayer.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you for that prayer. Like I said earlier, my name is Dr. Regina James. I will be moderating this meeting tonight. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the presence of our digital director, who is always there for us. I'm talking of Dr. Ibrahim Bello. I welcome you, sir. Thank you very much for always being there.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please, I also want to welcome very distinguished pharmacists in our presence. I welcome the chairman, the national chairman of CPAN, Dr. Joseph Madu. Oh, I think he's here to join us. So I want also to welcome members of the ESCO of CPAN. The Assistant Secretary is here, Dr. Timi Priye. You are welcome, distinguished colleagues. I also want to welcome that our presenter for today is here. I'll welcome him specially later on. I want to welcome Dr. D.O. Baba and many other people that are here. Please, I welcome all the ESCOs of CPAN. I welcome the state coordinators that are here. Sorry, I may not mention all the names, but I know they are here. In fact, I have also seen some professors in our midst. Please, I welcome everyone, our very distinguished colleagues, for turning up early. We appreciate you. And we are still expecting more. We have about 24 participants right now. We know that many others will join us. This is a special edition of the CPAN clinical meeting. As we are all aware, we have been having the meetings every Friday. And today's edition is a special edition. And we will be discussing on the use of digital technology in the documentation of pharmaceutical care activities and in telepharmacy. 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation on pharmaceutical care. And today, we are going further to actually discuss how digital technology can be applied. As we all know that everything is going digital now. In the manufacturing, digital technology is employed. In the distribution, we have inventory using digital technology. And today we are here to discuss, to update ourselves on the application of this digital technology in pharmaceutical care documentation. Like I'm aware, some weeks ago also, our national chairman posted some documentation forms designed by CPAN on pharmaceutical care documentation. So today we are taking it a step higher by learning how to apply digital technology in this documentation. So before I introduce the speaker, I don't know how our national chairman is here to join us. But before I introduce the speaker, I want to appreciate all the fellows that are present here. And see some names of PSN fellows that are present. I also want to welcome fellows of the West African Postgraduate College of Pharmacy. Some very important personalities are here with us, and we are still expecting more. But meanwhile, in order not to waste time, I want to introduce our speaker for today. Okay, just before then, please let me remind us that we are expected to unmute our devices while the speaker is presenting. So we are expected to mute our devices. And then at the end of the presentation, we will take questions and answer session. And we'll appreciate if anyone who has something to contribute or has a question will indicate by raising up of the hand. And the person will be called subsequently to make the contribution or ask the question, and the presenter will answer as much as he can. Thank you very much for coming and for listening. So I want to introduce our speaker. I have already said that the topic for tonight is the use of digital technology to improve pharmaceutical care documentation and telehealth in Nigeria. Our guest speaker is Dr. Jude Chukwuka Okoye. He has B.Pharm, he has PharmD, and he is a member of CPAN. He is the MD of Epic Heights Pharmaceuticals. He held that position between 2015 and 2019. He's a consultant pharmacist to some organizations. He is a member of the PSN Strategic Action Plan, or the Action Plan for 2020. He has a number of certificates, including some from a university in Sydney, Australia, which he acquired in 2017, and many others. He is an e-health consultant to many institutions, including private hospitals in Anambra State, in Oyo State, and even the ministries of health. He is an electronic health record implementation partner to many organizations, including the Guide of Medical Laboratory Directors, including our own ACPN and our PSN. That is just a few about our presenter tonight. He is a digital technocrat, so let us listen to him on how we can use this digital technology to improve our documentation of pharmaceutical care. Dr. Okoye, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ma.
Presentation now.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Dr. Okoye, and today's presentation will be looking at the use of digital technology to improve pharmaceutical care documentation and telehealth in Nigeria. As Dr. Regina said in her introductory speech, that digital technology
is the way to go, as every sectors of the economy are leveraging on it to improve their service delivery. Therefore, the pharmaceutical sector, especially in the area of the community pharmacy and the hospital pharmacy, cannot be left behind in leveraging on digital technology to improve the quality of their service. Because the whole essence of digital technology, wherever they are applied, is to improve quality of service delivery. So therefore, this topic is coming at the right time in the history of pharmacy practice globally. So to start with, we're going to, okay. All right, so we're going to look at the learning objective of this presentation. And the first and foremost is that we need to understand some key concepts in digital technology. Then again, we need to appreciate the concept of health information technology. Also, we will distinguish between what is electronic medical record and electronic health record. As we are well aware, some of us have been hearing about these two terminologies in some intellectual discourse. Today, we're going to look at what they actually mean and how to identify which of them we are using in our practice. We will explore the benefits and application of digital technology in pharmacy practice. And we will examine the uniqueness of HEALTHSERVES electronic health record. That is mean of EHR. Whenever we see EHR, it means electronic health record. Also, we examine the impact of health information technology in healthcare delivery. So to start with, we need to understand what really is digital technology. By way of definition, digital technology are two systems and devices and resources that generate, store, and process data. So whenever you see any system or device that meets this definition, that means we're talking about digital technology. So indeed, digital technology is a very wide concept that comprises so many of the technologies we know and use today in modern society. Among them include social media. As we can see, if we really look at social media, how it operates, we'll find out that it actually fits into this definition of what is digital technology. Also, medical diagnostic equipment of all kinds, including our popular glucometer, fall within this concept of digital technology because it takes information, it processes it, and it gives you output. As well, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, Internet of Things, and a lot more are all part of digital technology. But I will use this opportunity to explain what is Internet of Things. Internet of Things is a situation where you have two or more devices communicating to each other autonomously. For instance, if you happen to have a blood pressure monitoring system that can communicate to your patient medical record in real time through the use of internet connection, that perfectly explains what is Internet of Things. And so it has an application in health information technology, as we'll see as we go on. However, much of what we have said so far above is not really our interest for today. So what are we really talking about? We're going to narrow our focus to what is referred to health information technology. Now, health information technology is actually a subset of digital technology. So by way of definition, with us, what is health information technology? Because all we're talking about today actually fall within the spectrum of health information technology. And it is the application of information technology in healthcare delivery. So anywhere you happen to apply information technology, don't forget, we have divided from digital technology now to information technology. Now, if we apply information technology, how to manage information in delivering healthcare, that is what we refer to as health information technology. Now, it involves health information management across computerized systems and secured exchange of health information between patients, healthcare professionals, healthcare providers, health maintenance organizations, and health regulatory authorities. Now, there are two approaches to health information technology implementation. Is either you are doing electronic medical record or you are implementing electronic health record. Now, one may ask, what is the difference between electronic medical record and electronic health record? Let's find out in the next slide. Electronic medical record, EMR, is a health information technology system that is used to manage patients' clinical information within one institution. So that means if you're using a digital system to manage patient information, but such information can only be accessed and managed within that institution, which can be a pharmacy or a hospital or even a lab, you're actually running electronic medical record. On the other hand, EHR, which means electronic health record, that contains patient clinical information from multiple institutions, and it provides a more holistic long-term view of the patient's health. The best way to give analogy of what EMR and EHR stand for is to look at the way we use ATM machine. If we assume to have an ATM machine, ATM card that you can access in any bank of your choice, regardless of whether the bank issued the ATM card to you or not, that can be referred to as EHR. But if you have an ATM card that can only be used within your bank and no other place, that can be referred as EMR. So HealthServe EHR is a cloud-based healthcare delivery management platform that enables healthcare professionals to deliver superior clinical services to their patients by leveraging on unparalleled patient data management and collaborative patient care. Also, we remember at the initial stage, we talked about telehealth, and we must have been hearing about telehealth in many intellectual discourse. But what really is telehealth and what falls within the ambit of telehealth? And telehealth is the provision of healthcare services remotely by means of electronic information and telecommunication technologies. Unlike telehealth, telemedicine is the practice of medicine that uses electronic information and telecommunication technology to deliver care at distance, and it specifically applies to physicians. Going further, telehealth refers to a broader scope of remote healthcare services than telemedicine. Telehealth encompasses patient and professional education, public health services, health administration, in addition to clinical services. Lastly, telepharmacy is the delivery delivery of pharmaceutical care services remotely by means of electronic information and telecommunication technologies. Now we ask, why do we need to have digital information technology in pharmacy practice? This is an important question that we need to ask ourselves in today's presentation. And let's see why we should care about digital information technology in our practice. Now, digital pharmaceutical care documentation tool can adapt easily to varying documentation needs in community pharmacy and hospital pharmacy practice, because we know that our practice setting and the need of health scheme public in community pharmacy and hospital are not the same. In community, we manage minor ailments and we get complaints directly from the patient on what is the health problem, and we try our best to attend to that. But in hospital, our major objective and goal is to ensure rational prescription by evaluating all prescriptions that come to the pharmacy department. And we need the right set of tools to do that. It presents great opportunity for interprofessional and intraprofessional collaboration in patient management and continuity of care. What this means is that in electronic health record system, all the professionals managing the same patients who happen to have reason to attend to any of them will have access to what has been done in the patient folder before the patient arrives at your desk. And that gives you room to have a holistic understanding of the patient history for you to make informed intervention. So going further, one of the reasons why we should care about digital health information technology is that it's going to give us source of data to conduct clinical research in pharmacy practice, both individually and collectively. Also, with digital health information system, we're going to have intuitive and adaptive documentation tool to enhance the thoroughness and ability of clinical pharmacists to identify lapses in drug therapy management. This very objective, or rather goal of digital health information in pharmacy practice, will be demonstrated when we start the proof of concept, which will come at the second phase of this presentation. Also, it brightens the prospect of integration of pharmacists initiated clinical documentation into the mainstream patient folder system. What we're actually trying to say is that even if we document patient care, but our patient care does not find its way into the patient folder, it will not really serve the needed purpose, because healthcare delivery is actually a collaborative effort. Therefore, there is need for pharmacist documentation, just like that of every other clinician, to be entered into the patient folder, so that other clinicians who may need such information to make decisions in their own clinical intervention will do so. Also, with telehealth, as we have mentioned before, that it allows us to deliver our clinical services over a long distance using telecommunication technology or electronic information system. That means we can actually provide our services to a larger geographical area than our immediate environment, and also increase our visibility and increase and higher clientele base. It will also create value-added services that will increase revenue generation in pharmacy practice. This we'll get to understand as we go on in this presentation. There is equally higher patient satisfaction and customer retention. By the time we see the tool for pharmaceutical care documentation and how it's going to help us to really manage our patient well, we'll be left with no option, no doubt that with digital technology, we can actually provide our patients with better pharmaceutical care services. Also, with business intelligence, with the use of AI, meaning artificial intelligence, the software can guide us to better allocate resources, scarce resources in our practice. For instance, we understand that certain ailments are more rampant at certain part of the year, which may be accountable for reason why some medications are needed at some part of the year. With aid of artificial intelligence working through our data in the system, it can actually help us to figure out the best way to stock the best product to stock at certain part of the year, and even the quantity, to make sure that we don't have out of stock or even expired products. Most so, with this technology, is to help us to raise the standard of practice and data management that will help pharmacists to better convince the government that drug dispensing is not for untrained drug retailers, as we have today in Nigeria. There will also be transparent and efficient management of fee-for-service drug billing in community pharmacy for robust health insurance service delivery, with active involvement of community pharmacies. Today, we are being given reason that the health insurance company cannot easily manage drug billing for reason of not having the right platform to interface with community pharmacy and to verify the product they provide to their enrollees. But we're saying today that that excuse is no longer acceptable, because with our solution, we can actually interface with health insurance company, and there will be good transparency and accountability in the services provided in community pharmacy. Now, we need to look at what are the features we have in HEALTHSERVES electronic health record, which we are going to demonstrate in the second session. One is that we're going to have seamless continuity of patient care across professional and institutional boundary, as we defined before what EHR is all about. Also, there's biometric enabled patient identification and folder retrieval system for easy management of patient clinical file. And what we are saying in essence is that with this technology, when patients arrive in your pharmacy, all you need to do to get their folder, imagine if you have like 1,500 patients in your pharmacy since you start practicing or start using this software. How do you get a patient folder from the system easily? But we're saying that has been taken care of, because every individual's fingerprint is unique. So by the time you scan your patient's thumb on the fingerprint reader, which we provide with this software, it will tell you who the person is automatically, and help you to retrieve the folder of the patient in real time without any clue to the system. That we're going to demonstrate here today. Also, there's clinical clerking tool for those that are in the community pharmacy. There is digital pharmaceutical care tool as well. We're going to see all that tonight. Also, it's high time we do away with our handwritten prescription, which most of the time we can't even understand what is written in them. And we have to resort to asking third party to help us interpret that, and which can never be error-proof, because we never can tell for sure what the person is trying to write. And we're saying it's time for us to adopt digital e-prescribing. That is, writing our prescription in electronic system. And when this prescription is written in one institution, you can actually access it from another institution as well, using this software, as long as both institutions are running on the same platform. There's also referral tool to refer patients to another institution when the need arises. Also, we have requisition tool. And requisition tool comprises of lab requisition for lab tests. There's X-ray requisition, there's ultrasound, EMR, CT scan, and even optometry requisition for optometry investigations for those that have eye problems and eye conditions. There's also collaborative patient care tool. And what this means is that when you log into a patient's folder and see what all the previous clinicians has done, if you want to talk to any of that clinician that has worked on that patient folder, you simply click on their user ID, and the system will give you an interface for you to chat with the person that made that documentation that you want to get clarification from. And you can do that in real time. You can connect to that person from that patient's folder. You have access to talk to the person without even knowing the person before, without even maybe having the person's phone number. You can engage with the person on this system. There's also patient follow-up tool. What do we mean by patient follow-up tool? Is it today, in today's healthcare system we have in Nigeria, it means that if a patient comes to our pharmacy, the only time we can find out how they're doing on the medication we give to them is when they visit our pharmacy again. But we know that when we give drug to patients, there's possibility they may have reaction to the drug, and they need to be guided on what to do next. So for that reason, there's actually need for us to have a way to engage with our patients in real time, so that when the need presents itself, we can use such technology to reach our patients and find out how they're doing. And they too can reach us and get timely information from their clinicians. Also, there is e-billing of medication on the system. Also, there's tool for clinical decision-making, public health policy making, and even detection of public health emergency and disease outbreak. Because if we have a centralized information silo in EHR as against EMR, it means that we can actually pull the data within a given community being done automatically by a software to tell us when there is an outbreak of notifiable diseases. And this system can actually trigger an alert to whoever is responsible to take necessary action in real time. Also, health insurance management is adequately taken care of on the software, such that we can actually provide drug to health insurance enrollees, and there will be end-to-end connection for them to approve such drug dispensing, and equally get the pharmacy refunded for the drug they provided to their enrollee. There's also clinical governance and internal health system audits. What we mean by this is that in a situation whereby we document patient care in the patient folder as is being done today using pen and paper, until we go to the medical record department for hospital, the management may not know what is happening in their hospital in terms of when someone is doing the wrong thing and how they manage patients. But with this kind of system, they can actually stay in their computer and oversee what is happening across the institution in real time, whether it's community pharmacy or hospital. All right, now, we're still working on some other modules, which are some of the tools we want to put into the system in the next coming months, in the next coming year, as we go on. These ones are still under development as we speak, and which are very vital tools for us to improve quality of patient care. And one of them is e-labeling of medication. In Nigeria today, we still rely more on using pen to write on drug pack. That is no longer acceptable globally to label drug that way, because some of us who may not have a good handwriting that will enable us to label the drug in such a way that the patient can understand what is written on them. But with this software, in the coming months, we are already working on this. You will be able to label your drug based on the information on the prescription, and you print it out using a thermal printer, and you stick it on the product, bearing your pharmacy logo or the hospital logo, and even other important details of your institution. So you can customize the drug beyond just what is written on the drug pack from the pharmaceutical company. One more thing of what we are working on now is drug dosing reminder for patients. What this means is that you can actually use this system to remind the patient when to take their medication automatically without you having to lift a finger. How will this work? All you need to do, for instance, if you are giving amoxicillin, which is given 8 hourly, for instance, if that is what is in the prescription, you just specify on the setting that this drug is given 8 hourly. And you tell the system when you're dispensing that drug, how many days will it be taking, or how many weeks, as the case may be. Once you set the dosing interval and the dosing duration, the system will take over the job from the patient end of the system. Once it's time to shoot out information on the patient's screen, or even use voice note to tell the patient that it's time for them to take that particular medication. All this is possible with electronic health record from our own system. Also, with telehealth consulting, we find out that we can actually consult patients both within and far from our physical location. That we are working on that. We are building the audio and video communication system that will enable you to engage with your patients just like the way we are using Zoom to communicate today. Another one is automated drug interaction checker. This system is going to help you to identify, once you put all the drugs in the prescription, it will help you as the pharmacist and even the physician to find out if there's any interaction between the drugs in a prescription, and it will give you the severity of such interaction and what you may likely do, if you may need to monitor the patient closely or not to even administer the drug at all. Such system to be able to tell you that in future. Also, contraindication sticker is equally in the making, so that if a drug is contraindicated in certain ailment and comorbidity, this system will tell you that, so that you can avoid that, so can prevent medication error. Moving on, we're still going to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to monitor medication and medical error. Because as human beings, when we gather objective data and subjective data, and we put it together, we'll make decisions on behalf of the patients, talking about clinical decision. But being human, we may leave some factors behind when making such decision. But with artificial intelligence, it will help us to make sure that we put everything into consideration. And if we make mistake, it's going to help us to highlight areas we have left behind to help us make a better judgment for the patient. Also, we understand that what makes us to feel well or to feel unwell most of the time goes beyond the medication and the intervention we have in the hospital. Rather, our lifestyle contributes to a large extent in we being unwell. For instance, if you don't exercise, that in one way or the other can affect your health. Also, our diet too can affect our health, our maybe smoking habit, and so many other things we do affect our health in different ways. But with digital technology, this system is going to use artificial intelligence to interact with your patients in such a way that is going to get information from the patient and help them to plan their lifestyle in such a way that they're going to achieve the required lifestyle modification to have a better quality of life and life expectancy. Also, with Internet of Things, we're equally working on this to make it possible for one to monitor patients who are at risk of certain health condition, for instance, stroke, to actually monitor them remotely and make the device to talk to the patient record so that if there is any issue, their clinician will be notified in real time so that action can be taken on time to prevent any irreversible damage. There's also product inventory and full accounting solution. What this means is that just like what we have today in some of our pharmacies, where we have product selling system that help us to account for the drug we sell in our pharmacy, and of course to restock and all of that. But one limitation of what we have in our inventory we have today is that our inventory does not take account of who is buying what, so that we can actually trace what every patient that comes to our pharmacy has been buying over a given period of time. Most of our inventory system lack that feature, but the inventory system we are going to develop, we have the ability to actually carry out drug utilization audit on every patient that visits your pharmacy. And also, with business intelligence, like I said earlier, this software will help you to manage resource allocation in your practice to maximize resources. Also with AI, we are going to manage disease risk factor calculation system. Of course, we know that there are certain risk factors that influence certain disease condition. With AI, this system can help you to calculate your risk factor and help you to make the required adjustments in order to reduce your risk factor for certain ailments. Now we ask, how and where do we use EHR? Talking about electronic health record. You can use HealthServe EHR in both hospitals and community pharmacies, as well as medical laboratory and even health insurance companies. And to use this software, you start by opening an account for your institution on HealthServe registration page. And after that, you get all your staff to create their professional account according to their roles in healthcare delivery. Then you enroll them in their hospital or pharmacy account on HealthServe and give some privileged access to perform certain specific functions within your institution as you so wish. Then you get the staff. After you have enrolled your staff, they can now start to create patient folder. The same way we have patient folder in our pharmacy today. For those that are keeping their pharmaceutical care documentation, you create the patient e-folder, and that e-folder you create for the patient is where all their clinical information will be going to in your pharmacy. Then after that, you can now start to attend to patients using HealthServe platform and document all your intervention in the patient e-folder in real time. And HealthServe account also come with a referral link that can help you to tell other about HealthServe, and you can even earn commission from doing so. Now, in conclusion, with wide-scale adoption of digital technology in pharmacy practice, with particular emphasis on health information technology, it holds enormous potential for the advancements of pharmacy practice, relevance and survival of pharmacy profession in 21st century, change in public perception of pharmacy practice, and government recognition of pivotal role of pharmacists in primary healthcare delivery. Therefore, there is urgent need for pharmacists to embrace digital technology designed to bring their professional expertise in drug therapy management to limelight. Otherwise, those in position of authority in the health sector will force a digital system that will suppress the clinical expertise of pharmacists in drug therapy management. This unpopular trend is already gaining ground, and some of the few health information technology systems in government hospitals today only have tools for inventory management for hospital pharmacy department. This is in sharp contrast to an ideal health information technology system for optimized healthcare delivery in Nigeria. So now we have come to the stage where we're going to start the demonstration on this system, because we are not talking about an abstract system. We're talking about a system that is already in existence. So let's see how this system, especially in the area of pharmaceutical care, how the two correlate with the template we have in CPAN. So I'm going to start a new screen sharing. We are now going to start the demo session proper. So in this system, for instance, if you are the pharmacist using this software, when you come to work on this system and you get to HEALTHSERVES.org platform, you log into your pharmacist account, which I'm going to do now. So you click on login to log into your account. So you type in your pharmacist user ID, which I'm doing now. And that's my user ID. And you can see the moment you type your pharmacist user ID, if you have been authorized to work in a given pharmacy outlet, it will automatically pass or activate the gateway of that pharmacy instantly, as you can see here. So once this is done, it's time for you to log into your account and start working. So the system is loading my dashboard. Now, this is my dashboard. I can see the tools I have on it, but these two may vary from one pharmacist to another, depending on the level of access the institution where you work has given to you. So, but the first thing you do, if you have a new patient, is to create their e-folder, as I said earlier. And to do that, you simply fill this form I have here. And once you fill this form, the system will generate a unique user ID for that patient. And with that user ID, which I recommend you open a register where you enter all the patient account you have created in your pharmacy. And of course, you have to give that user ID to the patient. With that user ID, you can use it to attend to them. But we'll find out that even without knowing the user ID, both by you and the patient, you can still attend to them without the need for that user ID, as we are going to see shortly. So once you create a patient account, which is a one-off process, all you need to do is to attend to patients once they come to your pharmacy. We have many options we can use to do this, but in this proof of concept which we are doing today, I'm going to use the fingerprint method to do that. So if I want to use fingerprint method to attend to a patient, all I need to do is to simply, when I open this page, I'll click on collect fingerprint. When I click on this, I will ask the patient to put their thumb on the device I have with me. And once they do that, the system will capture their fingerprint. And I click on verify fingerprint. And this system will automatically tell me who this person is. Sorry, let me do it again. I click on the get started, and I click collect fingerprint. And I place my hand on the device to collect the fingerprint template. And I verify the patient. So that is the patient that owns the fingerprint that I just scanned now. That is the name of the patient, and that is the ID of that patient. And at the bottom of this page, you will see a set of code, which is 942975. Once you click on that code, you can actually pull this patient folder instantly, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm retrieving the patient folder, which has opened right now. That is the patient folder. And as a pharmacist, if the setting on the institution allows me access to the patient folder, I can see all that has been documented in that patient folder. As you can see here, you can see some documentation that has already taken place. We're going to see how do we create this kind of documentation in this system as pharmacists that we are. All right, to do this is very simple. Just click on create new record. You will see how flexible and dynamic these two are. You can see here, we have many tools here, but one tool I want to lay more emphasis on is the pharmaceutical care tool. We have two for clinical clerking, for those in the community, for lab requisition, X-ray, ultrasound, precision tool, and so many others. But let's see what happened. You can see how we have arranged this tool. It makes it easy for you to easily get to what you want to do. Instead of us having all these tools load all at the same time, which you may not use them all the time, you select what you want to do at any given point in time. Let's assume we want to carry out pharmaceutical care documentation. I will select it. You can see the same as loaded pharmaceutical care tool. Now I click on pharmaceutical on this. It shows me subjective data. And when I click on subjective data, of course, subjective data can be so many information. You click on this, it shows you different sections in subjective data. It can be patient complaint. We click on it, and this system has loaded patient complaint. So you write everything that has to do with this patient under patient complaint. I'm just trying to do demo here. Then after the patient complaint, you may take the history of illness or that patient. System has equally dropped that interface for us, history of present illness, right? You type whatever you want to put inside. See on subjective data, you click on it again, you can select family history. So this makes it that it's only the information you need that you're going to document. And if for any reason you change your mind, you can easily remove any of them by clicking on this. You remove anything you want to remove. So you can add as many as you want. You can add immunization history. You can add allergy history. You can add that. Idiosyncratic reaction, you can add that. Comorbidity, you can add that as well. And now, as pharmacists, we need to look at what is the current and past medication history. We look at past medication history. You can see these two give us interface for us to write the name of the drug. Let's say it's amoxicillin, for instance. Amoxicillin is taking past medication history. Is taking amoxicillin 500 milligram. The next thing is we need to look at is how was it taken? Let's say it's 1 TDS. Then how long did it last? Let's say it's 5 days. And we can still use code to write this. As pharmacists, you can write it with code. Now, if there's another drug, let's say it's Amatem. Let's say it's Amatem, for instance, Amatem 480 tab. That's the drug he said he had taken before. Then what is the dosage? Let's say 1 BD. And then what is the length of usage? 1/3. While writing in code, you can write in shorthand, you can write in full sentence as you may like. And if you exhaust these 3 columns, what happens? You can add as many as you like. You can extend this under past medication history. How about present medication history? You can as well add that. You add current medication history. The same thing applies again. You capture the current medication history. What drug is it taking now? You can as well add that. Let's assume it's taking Augmentin. Augmentin 625. What is the dosage? 1 BD. Length of usage is a 1/52. Okay, So what else can we possibly talk about under subjective data? We can even talk about past herbal medication history to help us understand these patients better. We can add that as well, past herbal medication history. So now let's equally look at objective data. Now, all this while we'll be talking about subjective data. Remember, when we gather all this data, it will help us to make decisions for this patient, make informed decision, not just making decision, but make informed decision. Let's now look at objective data. So we are now in objective data. We can see that we're now at this point. We have blood pressure. First of all, let's go ahead and put the reference first. If you want to put the reference. In reference, we're going to look at what is normal, what is elevated, what is high, as the case may be. But if you like, I see, go ahead and first of all put your result. Let's say the patient blood pressure is 120/75. Then the pulse rate is 18. We took respiratory, the pulse rate is 72. We took respiratory rate 18. Temperature, let's say, is 36.5. Then we take oxygen saturation using oximeter, is 100%. Then we take height, let's say it's 1.8. We take the weight, 75 kg. And then, of course, if the patient, in the course of the objective data, he complains about pain, we can actually equally capture that as well. If there is no pain, we capture that. And then we represent with the scale. There's actually a scale for pain that goes from 0, 1 to 3 and all of that. And to make our documentation very comprehensive, it would be nice we put the reference for this our objective data. And we have actually loaded that in the system. So if this blood pressure is normal, we can actually state that using this. If it's elevated, we can do that. If it is high blood pressure, we can as well do that. So since this is normal, we state the normal range, and the reference range, the patient fall within the reference range. And there's also the pulse rate. Adult is 60 to 100. So we can actually use this to actually interpret our result. Then the respiratory rate for adult is 12 to 20 beats per minute. So that probably falls within the range. And temperature, normal temperature is 36.5 to 37.5. You can see if you have fever, what would you get? So we can actually interpret the result. If it falls within the fever range, we can actually declare this result as it has fever. When it's above 37.5, the person has fever. But if it's between the normal range, we declare it as normal. Then oxygen saturation, what do we get as normal? It should be between 95 to 100%. Then height for adult, if it's a male, it should be between 1.6 to 1.82 meter. Then for weight, depending on the length we have declared above, we can actually find out what will be the right weight for this individual. Let's assume the height is 1.8 as we have declared here. That means this is 1.8 in cm. So the weight should be between 65 to 81 kg for you to have a normal weight as an adult. Now we are finished with vital signs. How about lab result? If you send somebody to result and they have done the test and bring back to us in the pharmacy, how do we interpret such results? So we have lab investigation, various form of them already in the system. Let's say we want to capture fasting blood sugar. That's fasting blood sugar. What did we get? Let's say it's 75 milligrams per dl. What is the reference? We put the reference here on the system, whatever is the reference. If we want to put the reference, good and fine. Then what else? Let's say we want to check random blood sugar, for instance, RBS, that is random blood sugar. And we put the value, let's say we got 120. And basically, many tests have been loaded in this system, including even electrolyte tests, enzyme tests for various organ functions. You can see we have loaded a lot of tests here for you to just select them and load them in the system and interpret the result of the test. So let's say prolactin, you can put it here and you put the value of the test. And you can add more. If you have many tests you still want to add, you can add as many tests as possible. Now we are done with the objective and subjective data. What if we want to add more data beyond that? Can equally declare what is diagnosed in this patient folder. Whatever is the diagnosis, we can put it here. What is diagnosed on the patient folder. Next, we need to look at, on the order of sequence, is the assessment and impression. Assessment and impression is actually talking about what is possible drug therapy problem observed. So when you click on this, you tell us what happened. If based on the objective and subjective data we have collected so far, including the lab tests and all of that, you can say this drug, maybe there is unnecessary drug. There is also, you can add as many things you want to document. This one will open interface for you to give detail of what happened, why you arrive at the conclusion that this is unnecessary drug. If also there is this dose, another drug is have a low dose or high dose, you can add it as well and explain what is happening there. By the time we put all this information inside the system, which other clinicians can as well see, it will help us to make our own contribution in patient management so that the clinicians can actually change or adjust the prescription when necessary. Also, can equally have issue with drug interaction. If we detect drug interaction, we tell the physician that prescribed this drug that there's issue with drug interaction. And as our job as pharmacists is to make sure that we have a rational drug prescription, such a way that whatever drug that's given to patients will have less chance of causing any harm. So, and that is why we are doing this. All the subjective data and objective data is for us to make sure that the drug is right for the patient. And that is what we are doing at this stage. Now, having done all this, if you have identified drug issues that need to be addressed, you can now go ahead. I mean, while I'm doing this, if I like to minimize all these fields, so that I don't have to be scrolling up and down, I can just minimize them by clicking on this sign here, and system will close them up so that I will have less distance to go. You can see I'm closing all the pages. Doesn't mean that the things are not there, but I'm reducing them so that there won't be clustered. So you can see how I've changed the look of the screen. Now I want to look at, after we have identified drug therapy problem, we need to now do something about it. What do we do? We need to come up with treatment goal. We set up our treatment goal. What's our treatment goal? We establish that as pharmacists. So having set up a treatment goal, we can come up with the pharmaceutical care plan, come up with a plan. So you can see there are many tools we can actually load in this system. You document as much as you want, depending on the scenario you find yourself with each of the patients that comes to your pharmacy or in the pharmacy department. So we can actually see that with this tool, there's flexibility in patient management. You must not have every tool that to be on your system all the time. You only select what you need to manage that patient at that point in time. So there's still quite a number of other tools that we can as well select from. Once you go to pharmaceutical care plan, you select what you want to do. There's patient counseling, there's medication reconciliation, there's outcome of intervention. But there's an area I want us to look at very carefully, which is monitoring parameter. Now, anytime we are managing patients, there's need for us to set up a monitoring parameter. What do we want to achieve for the patient to be well? Let's assume we want to make sure that fasting blood sugar, LBS, we want to make fasting blood sugar to be below 115. That is our goal per DL. And let's say at the moment, this patient is we're getting fasting blood sugar of 180 milligram per DL. So we have set up a monitoring parameter. Now, something happens when you save this monitoring parameter. This system is going to save it in a memory that will help you to know what you have set as a target of the treatment, so that subsequently, whenever the patient comes back, you can always check on the target you have set on the patient folder. Because each time you open it, you now, after setting this monitoring parameter, you now have what we call therapeutic monitoring system, which is this, pharmacotherapy monitoring and evaluation. When you set monitoring parameter after saving it, you now find out that that monitoring parameter will migrate to therapeutic drug monitoring system, which is what we have here, therapeutic drug monitoring. So it will be showing on this, you can see, as I wrote it here under drug monitoring, it has migrated automatically to therapeutic drug monitoring, so that even after saving this file, this thing will be here and can use it to manage this patient subsequently and make sure if you need to change your treatment target, you can always change the treatment target. But once you set up monitoring parameter here, the system will now move it here that anytime you come in the patient folder, the parameter you have set will always be there for you to manage the patient and make sure have they achieved the pharmacotherapy monitoring and evaluation goal. Also, going further, we still have other tools like the recommendation for this patient treatment for other clinicians to now know what they need to do. You can add your recommendation, and you may see this data entry field to be small, but you can actually expand it. If you want to expand, and the more you write, it keeps expanding. And if you want to equally expand, you can actually expand it by dragging it down. You can see that you can actually increase it. So, and anytime you want to remove any of them for any reason, it's very easy. Just click on them and you remove them. Now, after doing all this documentation, don't forget we are only talking about pharmaceutical care. We are not talking about the prescription and all of that. Meaning that there are so many things you can do with these two, but we may not cover all that. But we have shown you so far, there are so many tools for us to actually document our patient care in the pharmacy. Now I save this file. Let's see what happened. So I've saved this patient documentation. So we now look at how do we access the patient folder after we have saved it. So you go to the documentation folder and you see everything you have documented on the patient folder. So these are all your patients. You have all their folder in the system. You can see every single patient that comes to your pharmacy, their folder, the system will automatically create a folder for them. So when you click on the patient folder, you get to see all you have done on that patient folder. As you can see, what we have done here today is actually documented here. So you can see our documentation right now. These are all we have documented while I was doing this demo. You can see all the documentation we have done in this patient folder. Even though I opened some of these fields, I didn't use them. We can see all we have documented so far in this patient folder, and you can see the arrangement. So now, when someone else logs into the patient folder and you click on this user ID, you can actually talk to the person that creates any information in this system. You can see each time I put cursor on the user ID, it changes color, meaning that if I click on it, it will open communication interface when you are actually in the patient folder. You know, this one I'm clicking on now is the copy, my own copy of the patient documentation, because whenever you save documentation, the system creates triplicate copy. One goes to the patient that document in the patient's folder, which is the pharmacist in this case. One goes to the pharmacy where the documentation takes place, and one goes to the patient. So this copy I have is a copy that is in the pharmacist folder. But if I want to engage with other clinicians in this that document in this patient folder, when I click attend to patient and I log into the patient's folder using fingerprint or any other method that I choose to use out of these 5 options we have here, you can actually engage with other clinicians. Right now, I'm going to put another patient folder that's not the one I used before. So I verify to identify this person, and that's actually my own personal folder that I'm trying to pull now. So that's my folder. I have pulled it by scanning it. So I am calling up the folder. So if I call up this folder and I see what is this patient folder, so any of these things that are documented by various clinicians that are working in this folder, I can simply talk to them by clicking on their user ID. You see, as I click on it, it has opened a chat interface here. So I can chat with that person in real time. can see, we can start chatting with the person, whoever that document this thing. And once I click on this, it sends this file to that person for him to understand what I'm actually talking about. So we can engage on two-way communication in real time. You can see that it has a chat interface. I can even send file. And when you finish, you can actually close the file by clicking on this for you to delete anyone you don't need again on this window. You can delete it. All right. So also, how do we do follow-up on our patients? We have a follow-up system that can enable us to follow up on the patient. So let's look at that next. So these are the patient folder for patient follow-up. Now, if you click on any of this patient folder, it will open the communication interface for you to reach out to them. You can see that we have audio call here, we have video call, and we even have live chat. You can actually chat with this patient in real time by using this inbuilt communication system. Just the same way we chat on WhatsApp, you can use this system to chat with the patient, and they will reply you, and people can talk on the system using chat. If you opt for audio call or video call, that is equally possible. Then on the billing aspect, this system also handles billing for you, as you can see here. And it even have provision for you to print out invoice after payment. So for instance, I can print out invoice of payment for the patient. You can see the patient has paid. If I click on this, I can actually print out invoice using this software. And I can print on both thermal printer and even A4, as the case may be. Also, there is telehealth. As we said at the initial stage, the telehealth section have both the hospital, the pharmacy. These are the pharmacy section where you can actually, even the patient can chat with the pharmacy. Patients that come on this system can communicate with your pharmacy and find out your services and products you have, and they can place order if they find what they're looking for. And they can even book for appointment for consultation in real time from whatever they are located. Also, lab are there, and then we probably have professional consulting system as well. I can actually filter this consulting system to give you exactly what you're looking for. So for instance, if you want to consult a pharmacist, you can select pharmacist and you click filter, and it will give you all the pharmacies that are in this system, and you can choose the one that fits into the expertise you're looking for. And if you want to do that, all you need to do is to select the profession or the person and select the area of specialization. For instance, if you're looking for a clinical pharmacist, you can click that, and then will give you exactly someone that fits into that role. And you can book appointment to consult the person on this system. All right. Then also we talk about health insurance management and even documentation analytics. That, like I said earlier, we are going to give you for you to analyze all the data you are putting inside this system in such a way that you can even carry out clinical research with all that you do in your community pharmacy. Because I believe with our documentation, we can actually conduct research that can even lead to us having PhD with our clinical pharmacy practice documentation. Also, there are other set of tools that are required, but it may be more applicable in hospital, like scheduling patients according to when they arrive. If you have large volume of patients coming to your pharmacy, you can actually schedule them to be arranged according to when they arrive, and even who attend to them in your pharmacy. You can actually do that on this system. And even health insurance billing, you can do all of that. There's function for you to actually manage capitation, set capitation, and so many other functionality in this system. So this is for capitation setting system, and you can use it to add new one. You have all Nigerian health insurance represented here. For you to add a health insurance company, all you need to do is to set their capitation by using this tool, HMO capitation setting. You click on this, and you select the health insurance company and how much. That is for people that accept capitation. But basically, in community pharmacy, most of the time, what we have is fee for service, whereby they pay only when they're enrollee buy drug from a pharmacy. But for those that have need for capitation setting, you have to set capitation for every health insurance that have retailership with you. If, for instance, it's 1,000 naira per month, you just select the health insurance company and select the amount. Once you add their enrollee on the system, this has been saved already. Once you add their enrollee on the system, it will use this value to calculate capitation at the end of every month. Then all this while we'll be talking about the pharmacist interface. There's also the pharmacy interface, which is the institution that controls how the system works. And even the issue of patient data control, who to have access to patient data. Let's log into the pharmacy end of it and see how the pharmacy administrator can manage the staff and even access to patient information. So to do that, you log in with your pharmacy account, which is actually the first thing you do when onboarding on this system. So once I put my user ID, I have logged in. One of the things you need to do first and foremost on this system is to set patient data privacy for your institution. So this defines who to have access to patient data. If, for instance, you don't want the admin staff to see this patient data, you have to block them from having access to it. But by default, everybody is blocked from having access to patient data by default. You have to set it according to the way it suits your organization. So you define people that you have access to that patient data in your organization. If you want the lab to have access to it, you give them access. And anytime you want to change your setting, not to give some people access again, you change your setting as well. And if you want to collaborate with hospitals around you, you can actually give them access by activating this button. But if you don't want to have any hospital around you have access to data that are created in your pharmacy, you close it. The setting applies to lab. If you want to share patient folder with your lab, you can actually open it by clicking on this. But by default, the system is closed. You can't see it outside your pharmacy. And if you want other pharmacy around you, when someone has been to their place and it comes to your place, for you to share data with their own pharmacy, you have to open it by clicking on this to share data with only pharmacy around you. So by this, we have actually been able to segregate how to manage patient data and maintain patient confidentiality. Also, you have your staff management tool. Every staff in your institution have their own folder where all their documentation are stored. So everything you are doing as a staff will be stored in this patient staff management tool, and you can take a look at it anytime you want for your own system. You don't need to go to their desk. You just be at your own desk at the admin or the pharmacy, and all that they're doing, you can see it in real time from your own end. Just as I'm here, I can see what is in this folder, and I can chat with this person by just clicking on this. You can see it has opened a chat interface for me to engage with these pharmacies that are documented in this system in the real time. Then also, we have the enroll staff function. This helps you to define who to have access to work in your pharmacy or the hospital. And also, whenever they leave your organization, maybe they're no longer working in your pharmacy, you have to remove them so that they can no longer access your pharmacy again. Once I click on this delete this yes button, it will go ahead and remove this staff. But if you want to add a new staff, I just click on this and I will enter the staff ID and I click on this enroll staff. I've given the staff the access. I've enrolled the staff into the team that work in my pharmacy by just performing that operation. And then every patient that comes to this pharmacy also have their folder in the pharmacy end of this account. This end is the pharmacy end, not the pharmacist end. The pharmacy as an institution, meaning that every people that work for you, all the documents, all the patient will have a folder, one individually, and everything about them will be saved in their folder. And from this end, you can actually manage each of the patients using what is saved in their folder. If I click on this, I can actually see what is stored in each of the patient's folder anytime and as they're being documented in. I can see all the patient folder and information in them. And I did not mention about the review of system tool, which is also on this system, but it's on the clocking tool, whereby it can review every organ system in the human body. And that will help you to understand what you are going to do. If actually the patient come with a complaint without any prescription, that will help you to actually carry out clinical clocking to understand the patient needs. If they come and complain, they're having headache or they're having fever or whatever it is, you can use that tool to actually review them, review the organ system and find out what really is wrong with the patient and what you are going to do. There are other functions here as well, like the one for managing the lab. You use this one for those tests, for instance, that can be run in pharmacy, because there's actually some tests which we are working on now, like I can run in pharmacy, like we do point of care testing in community pharmacy. Some of such tests can be run in pharmacy. That's why we have these two. One may be wondering, why do we have lab 2 in pharmacy? It's because it's possible for us to do some point of care testing, and you usually need to document those point of care testing. So that's why we have some of these two that are actually part of the lab module featuring in pharmacy, because we actually want to have a situation whereby you have comprehensive documentation in pharmacy practice that will enable us to actually showcase our expertise as drug experts and as well clinicians that are involved in primary healthcare delivery. So far we have shown you some of what we have in these two, but we're not even going to the patient interface or even explore the documenting tool in detail. Because if we are to review how to use prescription tool, how to use the lab requisition, and even print out the lab report and even print the result, all that are in this system, including managing the pricing for every of the lab tests. For instance, this one is for general purpose blood tests. You can use this to manage, set the prices for the lab test, such that this system will automatically capture, once you make a lab requisition in that institution, it will tell you how much the patient will pay for that test to be run. And there's already a billing tool to capture all of that, which we are not even going to that. But I believe with this, what we have done so far, you can have a rough idea of what you can do with this. Mind you that what we have done so far is just the tip of the iceberg, because we are still working on so many tools that even make the tool more robust in the area of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and even virtual reality based on what we're doing. But that one may ask, actually, we are not the only one working on this system for now. We have to get some expatriates to join us. Some are working from India, some are working from China. That's why we're able to develop this tool up to this stage. But we hopefully have some IT people from Nigeria who are part of this team that are developing this software. So far, this is what we have done. And we believe that with the buy-in and the adoption of this software, we are going to actually leverage on digital technology to improve the quality of care, because if we don't document whatever we have done, there's nothing to prove that we have done it. And that is why there's need for us as pharmacists to document our patient care. And that was actually what informed the commencement of this project some years back. This project has been running for about 3 years now. We have been working on developing this software, but we still have a long way to go. We look forward to partnering with more stakeholders and having our members come on board this software. And I have to say something here, because I know that question may come up in the question and answer section. For you to onboard this software as a pharmacy, the cost is actually 100,000 naira. But the way what we are doing at the moment, we actually have a promo that is running now, that all you need to do is just to make a donation of any amount that you can afford, and we are going to help you to activate this software in your organization. But then all you need to do is to get the fingerprint device that we're using to scan patient's fingerprint to retrieve their folder, and you'll be up and running. So it will not really cost you much to start running this software, because even though you have a price, based on how much it has cost us to develop this software, but we're making it almost free. Just make a donation and you can have this software running in your pharmacy. Thank you for listening. Hello.
Hello, yeah, well done. A very good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Regina, are you still on?
That was great.
Okay, Dr. Jude, can you stop sharing your slides? Can you stop sharing your slides?
Sorry? Hello?
Can you stop sharing your slides? Yes, for now.
Okay, okay. All right.
Just click on stop share. Yeah.
It's not showing
Click
here.
on stop share. Okay, maybe because of your solution.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me
Let
see.
me see.
Let me see.
Let me see.
What
Can
I'm
yeah.
doing.
Okay.
Okay.
I've off it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, Dr. Regina, our moderator, on to you. Are you still on the call? Okay, maybe we lost him due to network. We lost her due to network. Okay, it has been a very great one, Dr. Jude. Very wonderful. A great package for everybody. Everybody has attested to that. We are educated. We are motivated, highly motivated. The floor is now open for contribution, for questions. I see some hands up. I want to call on Dr. Eugene Ikobi to please unmute yourself and ask a question, please.
Yes, good evening. I'm still from Eugene. I want to really thank Dr. Jude for the presentation and for opening our eyes, because I got to know a lot of things this night. I actually thought I have seen so much in IT, but to be very honest, he opened my eyes to so many opportunities that are yet to be explored in IT solutions in pharmaceutical. The area I just wanted clarification that struck me as he was presenting. One of them is the aspect of the patient receiving notification on when to use their drugs. I'm actually trying to figure out how we're going to get things done, especially with patients. If we have to get them uneducated, and so much of them that may not have access to the smartphone. They are using just ordinary phones. So I don't know how that can be integrated to capture so much of the patients that this reminder will actually work for, because I know that will be a great tool in helping a lot of patients, because we experience that a lot in our pharmacy, and people buy drugs and they forget to use their drug as prescribed, and then they start having issues coming back to say it didn't work or some other things, because they actually didn't follow it the way it was prescribed. That's one aspect. And then the second area that also struck me is this two that he mentioned, though he said he hasn't come off the board, about inventory of everything that was sold and everybody that came into the pharmacy, everything that was seized. I will be so much interested in this aspect of this platform coming to board so that you can actually run a report to know from beginning to the end of the month how much of the drugs that has gone out and who picked it up. If anyone was picked by Clifford, you get to know. So I will be encouraging the team, the experts that are working on it, to actually intensify efforts and get this very important to help the pharmacy in managing their inventory. I must say thank you very much for the elaborate presentation.
Thank you.
Can you respond to that, Dr. Jude?
Yes, actually, it talked about trying to deliver message to patient who doesn't have possibly a smartphone. That's actually possible. Can use SMS, but the only challenge with that is that if we use SMS to deliver such information to patients, it's going to come at a cost at the end of the pharmacies, or the patient. Somebody must bear the cost, because like this system already has an inbuilt OTP system that can be used to deliver such message. And of course, that service is being delivered by a company in Dubai called SMS Global. So we can use actually their API to deliver SMS to patients as to when to take their drug. But the challenge with that, like I said, is the cost. Unlike when we use Android device with the smartphone or the patient will get notification based on, because every device you have, mobile device you have its own internal timing clock. And of course, this has a cloud server, but it's going to be in such a way that if once you set the dosing interval and the duration, and the message goes to the patient's phone, even if there's no internet to link up to the server in real time, it's going to use the information, the timing on the patient device to monitor the dosing and tell the patient when to take the drug using the information it has received from the cloud server of HealthServe. So, and not just that, with such a system, it's going to do one more thing for us. It's going to allow the patient to click a button each time they respond to that message and take that drug as instructed. They're going to click a button. So at the end of the day, we will use such information to actually monitor their drug adherence, whether they take the drug or not. That would be an advantage over using an SMS, because with an SMS, there's no way for us to track whether they take the drug or not. But if we use an Android app that will have an alert system, they can click a button to notify that they are taking that drug once it comes up. And that will help us to monitor drug adherence in real time.
Okay, Dr. Peters, Alphonsus, you have the floor.
Good evening, Dr. Jude.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yeah, I must say that is a wonderful presentation, one of the best we've had in recent times. I appreciate it in no small way. I'd like to make one or two contributions and ask one or two questions to you. My first is the contribution. My short stay in Canada, Edmonton, I actually noticed the importance of electronic health record, where a physician had prescribed a controlled medication for a patient. The patient actually went and got it in one pharmacy and went somewhere else, wanted to duplicate the same medication, and the pharmacist simply went and clicked and just discovered that this patient had that drug, and of course didn't give the patient. The patient made a scenario and had to call somebody to create a scene, not knowing that this electronic health record had actually dived the patient, so to speak. So eventually the patient was told that she could not have the drug in 2 different pharmacies, because they all share similar records. So just for us to know that it could actually help to prevent quackery and help us in controlling drug use, especially with respect to controlled drugs. That's where it's obtained in that part of the world. And hopefully, I believe that's one other area we should be looking at. With respect to that, if you could impute some things in the computer to look at that, to raise attention towards that area. Then on the question side, I'm looking at how do we use that now against a second form of quackery now. I'm talking about patent shops, patent medical vendors, where they have access to all these things. And some non-pharmacists operate these areas. If, for example, there's pharmacy A, you might go there and discover that the person running it is not a pharmacist and it's not even registered as a pharmacist. So for the fact that they are healthcare persons, would that give them the privilege to use this record in a pharmacy setting? Or we're going to have a way of blocking any unregistered pharmacy from using these services? That's one question I'll throw to you, if you have a solution in the way that it will help to monopolize it to just pharmacy only, or registered pharmacy, advantages, so to speak. Then again, I'd like to ask again, if you had made any contact with our regulators, because it will go a long way if our regulators support a system like this, knowing full well that if the regulators support it, so many organizations may actually want to key into it just because it's become the norm, and they wouldn't want to be left out. And of course, if it's not part of it, if it's not really supported it, some persons may still feel optional and want to continue to do the paper thing that a lot of people have been doing. It won't go in a way, it will actually make it very easy. Then the third point is that I'd had to use one in the past. If you remember one popular one that was called Wella Care, when it came up, I was in 2 points of care, different point of care, and was putting all those things. It was actually going well, but just the way I was practicing, some of the patients, many of them would actually have issues with affording clinical pharmacy services, where you want to bill them for service and they tell you they have already bought the drug. Why are you billing them differently? And sometimes some patients, probably you had recommended medications in addition to what they are taking, may want to opt for just some medication out of everything you have given them for lack of cost. If you have a way to handle those kind of things, or how would you suggest, based on the fact that you have done elaborate studies on this? Thank you.
Sorry, the last one, I didn't get that one. I would like you to repeat it better so I understand the last one, based on your experience with Wella Health and how we can control that experience. I want to get that, please. Yeah, I was talking about where some patients will come and you want to bill them for clinical pharmacy services, and some of them may be insisting that if they had bought the products from you, they wouldn't be able to afford all those services still. How would you, what other way do you think you could get that? Maybe third party, or if you know insurance companies that can help in putting those services, just like you've had some partners from maybe India, China, like you said. If there's any other way you think, probably there are organizations that could key into this, NGOs, to help those clinical pharmacy service part of it. That's what I was talking about. Then again, I said some patients, because of cost reasons, out of maybe 3 products or 4 you had recommended for them, they may just say, I can only afford 2 out of these 4. And your hands will be tied. Eventually, you only dispense 2 medications out of 4. I look at that again as probably one of the constraints of a service like this, so that you might not be able to get the best from the tool the way you would have done if probably everything you are inputting will correlate with what your patients are taking. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Alphonsus, for that very encouraging comment and equally question too. To start with, you mentioned about how to control prescription. Actually, what this system does is that once you dispense a drug, automatically that prescription will no longer be visible for you to dispense it. Instead, you will now see it as a documentation in patient folder, instead of being as an accessible prescription that you can call and then dispense. You won't see it in that section again once you dispense a drug. Unless if it's a drug that has a refill and it has to state how many times the drug will be refilled. And once he exhausts the refill, then he can dispense that drug again. That is the way the system is structured. But we're not done the refill, but we have already done that. Once you dispense a drug on the system, you can't dispense it again. Then also, in the area of controlling who will have access to use this tool, basically, we have met with the PCN, who are the regulator of pharmacy practice in Nigeria, and they actually like the concept. But one thing they said is that they need to get the ACP. That was about some years ago, that they need to get the ACPN leadership to key into it as well, so that they can come in and do the needful. But then, due to some challenges, we are not able to really get the ACPN to really do much for us to move on. But I believe that PCN are very much willing to play their part to make this system to work once the stakeholders indicate interest that they want to leverage on technology to advance their practice. And even as well, for someone to use this tool based on what we have done, it is only someone who is trained as a pharmacist that can use it. If you're not a pharmacist that is trained in clinical pharmacy and know how to use it, that person will not be able to use this tool. We're talking about people who are not pharmacists and possibly they have access to this tool. But even at that, it's not possible. Because what we're trying to do is that if PCN come in, we're going to make it that before you can use this system, we're going to approve, just like in pharmacy. Now, if you open your pharmacy on this system, you can't use it until it's activated. So we can block access to any account created on this system until we verify the person's standing as a pharmacist in Nigeria. Likewise, other healthcare professionals that are already in the system, because we have physicians, we have nurses, we have dentists that are already on this platform. So with the collaboration of the regulatory councils we have in Nigeria for various healthcare professionals, we can actually regulate who have access to this system by linking the database of this professional body to this system. You can find, they can actually do it automatically. Once it checks if you want to renew for the year, once it checks your license and see that you have not renewed, it will not allow you to work. That is possible to do with the right code. We can make it that if you don't have your license active, you can't use this to work. Then another one is the issue of funding, especially for people who can afford the pharmaceutical care services. Well, we're still looking forward to having partnership with other NGOs who can help pharmacists who are doing pharmaceutical care to get rewarded for that. In fact, there is one coming up now, but it's not actually for community pharmacies. Instead, it's for people that are involved in child delivery. The NGO in US want to monitor child, make sure that they improve child delivery in Nigeria, and they want to use a digital system to do that. So we're still in talk with them, but their target is basically hospitals that are involved in child delivery. Their aim is that they don't want to have any woman die in the course of giving birth, and that is their mission. So that is basically what we are doing as regard to question you have asked.
Thank you very much for that very educative answer, Dr. Okoye. Please, before we continue, I'm sorry I was temporarily cut off. Before we continue, please, I want to recognize some very important personalities in our midst. We could not recognize them at the beginning. We have an erudite professor. In fact, to some of us, He is a father of pharmaceutical care in Nigeria. I'm talking about Professor Azuka Okpara. Sir, we appreciate your presence here. We also want to recognize the presence of Dr. Lodlu Ojo, the presidential contestant in the past PSN election. I also want to recognize the presence of our very dynamic chairman of CPAN, Dr. Joseph Badu. Also present here is a vice chairman, Dr. Maureen Wafo. The very dynamic secretary too, Dr. Olulawal, is also in our presence. Please, because of time, I would not mention names again. I just want you to know that we appreciate your presence in this place, those whose name I have not mentioned. And before we go on to, I would like to call on the chairman to please say something about the presentation. I'm sure he has some speech, he has something to tell us. Chairman, sir.
Currently not on the call. Yeah. He's not on the call currently. He's not on the call. Yeah. He has
It's
gone out.
not okay. Can I call on the secretary? I know the secretary is here. Maybe the secretary will just give in a word before we close.
Okay. We have the vice chairman. We have the vice chairman. Dr. Moni is on the call. You can call on Dr. Moni.
Our vice chairman, please, Dr. Maureen Wafo, please, can you just say something on your behalf and on behalf of the national chairman? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
On behalf of National Chairman, Pharmacist Joseph Madu, and all other executives, I want to thank our presenter this evening, Dr. Koye. Did a wonderful job. Wow. Can I say that you're not an IT pharmacist or ICT pharmacist? I don't know, but it's a good work. Congratulations, Doc. Please continue doing the good work, and I encourage our members to really try to know the software and try to get one if possible, because it will really help us, help our practice. You cannot be a clinical pharmacist without documenting what you're doing to help us in research and other things too. Thank you once again on behalf of the CIPA National Chairman. I say thank you very much for tonight's presentation. Please come again because we really want to know it, understand it, and able to use it in our various institutions and pharmacies. Thank you very much once again.
Dr. Bello.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes. I have a question for Dr. Jude. We are closing.
Yes,
I have a question. Yes, I have a question for you.
Sorry, Dr. Bello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
The PSN president is here. Can we acknowledge him?
Please go ahead. Please. Dr.
Professor Cyril Osifo is here.
Oh,
yes,
our very president.
Yes.
Please, we want to recognize our president. We want to recognize our president and to appreciate you for joining us, for joining this meeting. Thank you very much. It's like giving us moral support to continue what you are doing. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And then, please, I appreciate, I know there are many others that have not recognized, but because of time, that is why we have spent almost 2 hours here. In fact, that's why my system went off before I changed to another system. And for the presenter, we want to say at least, if nothing else, tonight, I believe you have given an answer to that $1 million question. that question of what to document and how to document in pharmaceutical care, particularly using the digital technology. We appreciate this presentation. And I want to encourage all of us. We are all clinical pharmacists. Please let us take this, if I could not just lecture, it's teaching. Let us go back and study and understand what he has tried to enlighten us on and put it into practice. Because we need documents like this to actually carry on this pharmaceutical care. The practical implementation is essential. Thank you very much, Dr. Jude Okoye. And I want to thank everybody that has participated, that has come up. This is held every Friday. Please make out time and join us next Friday. Thank you so much for coming. And then I want to call on our president to please give us a closing prayer.
Let us pray.
Thank you, sir.
In the name of God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father, we thank you for a day like this. Thank you for the way the day has gone. Thank you for clinical pharmacy. We pray that you continue to strengthen us and help us to do your will. In all that we do, Father, take preeminence. We pray, Lord, that you continue to increase our knowledge and that, Father, will continue to bring evidence-based opportunities and evidence-based reports so as to advance clinical pharmacy. We thank you for hearing us. Next Friday will be better than this. But Lord, give us a good night's rest. For in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. And good night.